Perhaps one of the most scandalous tenets of some schools of ancient Christianity is that the cosmos around us is inherently evil, forged by a psychopathic demiurge and ruled over by a host of planetary demons bent on nothing less than the torture and enslavement of the divine spark hidden within each human being. The origin and nature of those rulers or archons in ancient Greek remains one of the more obscure issues in this quite honestly provocative theology. But the discovery of a wealth of ancient magical texts in a small library in Egypt has shed more light on the very beings these Christians felt must be finally defeated and surpassed as the soul escaped our cosmic prison. In this episode, I want to explore what we know about the archons, their origins in Greco-Egyptian cosmology and magic, and how ancient Christians, though now known often as Gnostics asymptomatically, thought they could soar beyond the terrible clutches of these beings. If you're interested in magic, Hermetic philosophy, Gnosticism, alchemy, Kabbalah, or the history of the occult, make sure to subscribe here to Esoterica, and also check out my numerous other content and topics in esotericism, including a curated playlist on a range of topics. Also, if you want to support this work providing accessible, scholarly, free content on topics in esotericism here on YouTube, for free, I hope you consider supporting my work on Patreon and Roman. However, one such entity, Sophia, or Wisdom, sought to create on her own without the consent of the great invisible spirit. This mistake created a horrifying, nightmarish creature known variously as Sakla, Samael, Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge. Now, unlike Platonism, Stoicism, Judaism, or other teachings of Christianity, for whom the creator of this world was a benevolent deity who created a maximally beautiful world, a maximally good world, these Christians held that the physical cosmos was a kind of, this was all kind of prison, ruled over by that hideous demiurge, the craftsperson, along with a retinue of malevolent beings known as the ruler, or archon in ancient Greek. In this myth, the upper spiritual realm ultimately takes pity on us poor human beings and smuggles within them a divine spiritual spark and ultimately sends Christ, Jesus, who reveals the truth about our cosmos and the means by which to escape it, and, of course, to return with him, finally, to that divine light. Of course, I'm greatly simplifying the mythology. There is an enormous amount of variation both in these schools of thought and between them. There's not just one Gnosticism, but in a structural sense, the core myth system remains remarkably consistent. There's an ineffable spiritual reality in which a metaphysical tragedy occurs, engendering the creation of the malevolent demiurge, which in turn creates the physical reality around us, the physical cosmos, in which divine elements are trapped, encased within human beings, and we as human beings have to escape this world. In this episode, however, I want to focus in on one element, just one element of this mythology, the origins and nature of the cosmic prison warden, or the archons. Now, of course, I'll be coming back to do another episode on the origins of really the most shocking element in all of this, the origins and nature of the evil creator, or the demiurge, Sakla, Samael, Yaldabaoth. But the archons turn out to be a crucially important element in this mythology because, in a very important sense, they have created this physical prison, including our bodies in which we are trapped, deluded into believing this is all real. They are responsible for tricking us into believing that any of this is real, and even our thoughts and emotions are just inner puppetry to control us. And if these entities must be ultimately defeated and bypassed in our final jailbreak back to the spiritual world of light, beauty, and oneness. So, what do we really know about the archons? The term archon would have struck ancient ears as powerfully political, though without much of the majesty or any association with royalty. That's important. Thus, a Latin equivalent might be magistrate or governor. They're basically political functionaries who have rule locally, but not totally. If you've you've ever worked in retail, they're like the assistant manager with the chip on their shoulder who get off on making your life miserable because they got picked on when they were little. They need therapy, not managerial positions. Most of what we know about the archons can be found spread through the literature written by the so-called Gnostic Christians themselves and the polemics against them written by other Christians such as Irenaeus, Hippolytus, and Epiphanius. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in most of these mythological systems, these are beings created or somehow generated by the malevolent demiurge, both for its own narcissistic needs, but also to act as secondary creators and enforcers of this physical prison cosmos. Thus, in an important sense, they are the beings most intimately responsible for this whole mess. And also, they are the first major hurdle that one faces in one's escape back to the realm of spiritual fullness. So, I hope you could understand that knowing a bit about them seems germane to making just that escape. Many, if not most, of the Gnostic creation myths contain some mention of the archons, though the details on them vary greatly from text to text. Perhaps the most instructive and popular narrative is represented by the Apocryphon of John, or the secret teaching of John. Following the ignorant and mistaken creation of Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, with the hideous body of a snake and the head of a lion, eyes flashing as if bolts of lightning, that beast, Yaldabaoth, mates with itself. It mates with the mindlessness within itself to produce a series of 12 fiery beings. The names of many of these beings have their origins in Jewish mythology, while others are frankly more mysterious. Very strange. I'll come back to those in just a minute toward the end of the episode. The first series of 12 archons probably represents the creation of the zodiac and thus the fixed dome of the star, the fixed dome of the cosmic system. This is sort of the background of everything. Now, from among these and separately are extracted, and the text is confused here, and probably two separate traditions that have been fused together in the Apocryphon of John. But from these it seems that 12 independent kings are anointed or appointed over the spheres of the heavens. These 7 rulers are thus associated with the visible planets or the wandering stars of the Jewish world. These beings represent not only the spatial dimensions above us, but also the course of time itself, corresponding, as the text says, to the days of the week. We even learn a bit about their physical appearance, each having the face of various animals, such as a sheep, a donkey, a hyena, even one of flame and fire. This is a feature that probably had its origins in traditional Egyptian religious iconography. It's typically the idea of human being-like creatures having the heads of animals in religious depictions of gods. The demiurge, having created these rulers, then transferred some of his fire to them, perhaps activating them or emanating them at some level, such that they would believe he's the only God. And in his equally ignorant and narcissistic declaration, I am God. There is no God aside from me, taken from the Genesis creation story. There's immediately issued a declaration which is basically a rebuttal by a voice from the upper supernal spiritual realm. In fact, Yaldabaoth goes so far as to model his inverse realm of darkness and matter, our world, on the supernal realm, though often with satanic inversions mirroring the upper worlds. And from these, the archons would emerge 365 angels, though it would be better to think of them as demons for obvious reasons.